Welcome to another episode of All Things Freight. In this podcast, we're going to talk about Incoterms. You know, what the problems could be, misunderstanding Incoterms and the solutions. I'm James Sharples, this is Adam Glenister, and we're hopefully going to talk you through and better explain what Incoterms are, Incoterms 2020, and what their purpose is. So, Adam, discuss it with me. Why is it important to understand Incoterms?
Well, Incoterms are somewhat of like a code to designate the financial responsibilities and liabilities of the different parties in the international supply chain.
Yeah, so the internationally recognised set of terms installed by the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what they do is basically, you can buy and sell on these different terms, and that decides who is responsible for what costs along the supply chain.
Well, not just the costs as well. I mean, it's also who's responsible for the actual movement, isn't it? It's responsible for the handling of that cargo as well.
And then, when I say liability or risk, who's sort of responsible for insuring that product if they choose to insure it, and when the sort of responsibility of that cargo hands over, and there are different points along the supply chain, which are designated by different Incoterms.
And so you might not even understand what Incoterms are, you might not fully understand what each individual Incoterm is, but it is imperative that you learn and understand Incoterms before you start shipping or before you move your shipment, so you know who the responsibility lies with in the movement of your cargo, and you know who is responsible for the costs. So Adam, let's just expand on that and sort of introduce the problem. I've got a customer that thinks they're shipping on an FOB term. When we've actually reached out to the supplier to arrange the collection for the movement of that freight, they're telling us it's Ex Works. What's that mean?
Well, basically, the shipper of the goods, or where the customer's bought the goods for, believe that they have sold the goods on an Ex Works term, which basically means they have to produce the goods and make them available to load.
And that's the responsibility ends there.
That's where their responsibility ends.
And
there's some grey areas sometimes about having it loaded, but most of the time it just means they've got to make it available to be loaded and load it to the truck.
So the customer that thinks that they've bought the package on an FOB term, that thinks that their responsibility starts from basically the port when the freight's happening,
free on board,
they're actually fully responsible now from when the goods are actually collected.
Yeah. So then therein lies the problem, is that there are additional liabilities and additional risk, and also some additional moolah, costs, it's all about money, isn't it?
Exactly.
That they're then going to have to either sort of work out with their supplier, or are going to have to sort of fork out themselves, which then further down the line will, depending on how big their shipment is, affect the end price. So it's very important to understand these Incoterms and how you're shipping and how you're buying products internationally using these, recognised Incoterms. How do we ensure that we understand and also get the correct Incoterm when it comes to shipping?
So the solution, we've got plenty of information on our website, freight-365.com. Feel free to look through the solutions page there. It's on solutions, it's on air freight, it's on sea freight, it's on road freight and rail freight. Halfway down the page, you'll find all the list of Incoterms. You can speak to the Chamber of Commerce, you can speak to your freight forwarder. Incoterms are freely available online, so you find the information on.
And to note on that, they are vitally important in terms of international trade. It should be one of the first things when you are,
if not the first,
looking to make a purchase with an international company and look for like a new product or anything like that. You need to get that in the contract. You need to get that decided upon before anything else, because that sets the precedent for the rest of the.
Well, yeah, it could end up, if you're buying a product from China and that you're equating the costs for your resale price over here and incorporating that into your profits and margins, and you haven't factored into the consideration that you might be fully collecting this Ex Works from China, that could add an extra 10 grand to the cost of your cargo.
Which could wipe out a whole profit margin.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could just be giving the freight away. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very, very important. You do need to. And like you say, speak to your forwarder. They can, offer you some friendly advice, But I would say it's imperative that you get some real understanding, both from our website and then also from courses from the Chamber of Commerce or anything.
Oh, exactly.
Like that.
There's plenty of courses and such that you can do. I mean, not only just like the costs and responsibilities about deciding when you're on these products. There's certain areas around the world where your freight forwarder might recommend an Incoterm for you to ship on. Areas that might particularly be very, very liable for corruption, or that it might be a customs officer having a bad day. There are countries that are more susceptible to that. There's countries that are more likely for theft and such to happen, and piracy. So always speak to your freight forwarder as well about their advice. Let them know the destinations that you're shipping to. Let them know the destinations that you're collecting from. And we're here. We've got fonts of knowledge. We've got over a century's experience within the freight industry, and we're always here. We're always happy to help.
Yeah.